is there a time where you felt like mentally like this was a peak, or with filmmaking, is it like you just constantly get better and you up the ante?
Well, what did
time?
Tarantino say about filmmakers?
He said that they, there's a trajectory of them always kind of going downhill, which you could say, but
there's never not been a filmmaker.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could say Kubrick.
Yeah.
Who didn't.
Yeah.
But I think his output was different.
Yeah.
But other than Kubrick, every filmmaker gets worse. My personal experience answer to you is, if I go back and watch my very first film, Godmother,
mm-hmm.
I cannot believe my level of skill.
Yeah.
And on 35 millimeter film.
Mm-hmm.
The level of skill I had as a 24-year-old.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm saying the script was amazing or stuff like that, but my actual directing abilities.
Yeah.
I've never touched that.
It's insane. Which
right?
is, because
right.
they say after the age of 25 or 26 is when cognitively, like you're at your peak cognitive or something like that.
But that's what I was talking with Ben with, like, to hold on to that
mm-hmm.
level of skill that I had at 24 or 25 as a director.
Yeah.
To increase that or to stay there, mm-hmm. I would have had to have abandoned mm-hmm. every single thing in life. I would have had to abandon a wife, mm-hmm. kids, caring about them,
yes.
football practice, ballet recitals. I mean, you can fake it in a sort of Spielberg way and have nannies and people and, now you look and it's like I'm reading articles about Spielberg's daughter in porn that they adopted, and now she's doing porn, married to a professional dart champion. Like that's like, if that's where my life ends up, is my daughter's in porn, married to a professional dart competitor. Yeah. Like I've lost. What are you talking about? So so in the Hollywood system, in that entertainment industry system, as long as you've got nannies, people taking care of you, mm-hmm. it's like when we go on work trips, right? Yeah. We're just a bunch of savages that we don't have to clean up after ourselves, we don't have to make our bed, we get as much food as we want, meals, mm-hmm. We're just, but that's not, and so if you stay consistently doing that, I think mm-hmm. you can keep your brilliance. Yeah. But the real world, mm-hmm. you can't do it. And I kind of abandoned that, knowing that I will find a different way to continue with this creative process, other than trying to be the next David Fincher.
Well, what do you think about, back to the director thing, what about David Fincher's work as he's progressed? Like, he went kind of from this more darker to more kind of like Benjamin Button and Social Network, and, he's done...
Is Fincher married?
Yeah, well, he's married. His wife is a producer with him.
Okay.
And
does he have kids?
He has a kid.
Kid,
I think she's like 26 now or something, so she's probably on her own. But it's interesting, and it was just one kid, but it's interesting to see that.
Listen to Tarantino about having a kid, getting married and having a kid.
Oh, I know.
He's freaking out.
Yeah, he wants to get into just writing now.
He just wants to, I think there's, again, not that there's not trade-offs. Even the Bible talks about, look, a guy that's not married can do amazing things in full-time ministry. There's just things you can do. Yeah. I'm just saying it's the same principle.
No, but I was talking more about the, because I don't know what his parenting was like when he was raising his kid, but I was talking more about his level of skill over the years.
Right.
Which is, I still like his early work too, but he said to himself, he's like, I didn't really know what I was doing until Benjamin Button. Right. He's even said that. He's like, all the movies before, I was making so many errors, I had no idea what I was doing. Right. And he's like, I didn't feel comfortable until around Benjamin Button, which is crazy to think, because you're like, what do you mean? You did
Seven.
You did Seven. You did Fight Club. You did The Game.
Panic Room.
You did Panic Room. It's funny for him to say, I didn't feel comfortable at all until Benjamin Button. That's when I was kind of like, okay, I feel comfortable asking for more takes or doing all these things. Yes. Which I was like, that's crazy to think, because he was probably, in his 40s by around then when he did Benjamin Button. So it's interesting to see. And now when he did Mank recently, that's a very kind of esoteric sort of, very film.
It's almost like his indie phase. Fincher never had an indie phase because he's not an indie guy. Yeah. That's kind of like his indie phase, right? You know, like, which I think is actually really cool.
Well, Netflix is allowing him to do, because Netflix is taking risks.
Right,
Netflix is like,
and that's kind of the indie, and that's kind of. But I think, you know, I think even where we're at now, it's going to be different on what filmmakers are and what they can do, because it is a whole new filmmaking with technology and speed. You know, I mean, the start of Fincher's career, you know, and I think he'll probably be a good example. Yeah. Not so much Tarantino or even Christopher Nolan, but Fincher shows us the old system that existed forever in Hollywood into the new system. And by old system, I mean Fincher's one of the only directors that literally came from a time when you would say cut, and that was it. There was a playback monitor, but it was a video playback monitor from the eyepiece. Yes. So you don't know what that scene looks like. Yeah. He's now a director that did that, which was all of the history of cinema, to now literally watching scenes play back, colored, textured. Everything is there. He's seen it. Someone's maybe putting edits together while they're. So that's a different world of filmmaking. I think that's going to create a different type of endurance. Yeah. Because the old filmmaking system just destroyed you on time. It's a thief of time. All the filmmaking, if you're a director or a producer, it's a thief of time. It robs you of time. Yeah. 100%. It's faster now, so not as much time is being robbed. You're not being depleted. So I think the new filmmaker may have the ability to actually increase their skills as they get older, other than just being depleted.
There was the example. So there's an interview. There's a documentary that Final Cut Pro made back when they did Zodiac back in like 2006, and Fincher started using Final Cut Pro Studio, and I think everyone had always used Avid, and
that was the Viper digital camera.
Yeah, and he was talking about, he's like, the reason why I like it is because my editor can be here and be like, you know, I'm gonna go home, but I'm gonna go home and edit a little bit at home and I'll have something free in the morning. And he liked that, like. That convenience, and he's one of the only directors right now taking advantage of the Adobe Creative Suite. Everyone else is still so stuck in Avid, even though they can't do anything more. All it is just a, what would you call it? They kind of Avid kind of, and all the editors kind of.
What's Avid ever done for people except never crash?
I've never used it, but I just
it's so good. Avid is so good, but still, no, it just, and you know.
And it's funny because, you know, even David Fincher talked about, he's like, you know, growing up, you know, he's like, film school wasn't for me. I just wanted to be a good grip, or I wanted to be a good focus. Like, he just loved the tactile stuff of filmmaking.
Same with James Cameron. You could argue James Cameron has only gotten better.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is true. Yeah.
Right?
He's been up in the bar.
James Cameron, Fincher's a different category. But James Cameron, I think, is the only director in the history of cinema who's never made a flop. That's crazy.
Yeah, he
has never made an unsuccessful movie. Forget if they're good or bad.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
He has never. That's crazy when you think of just where that puts James Cameron. Yeah. He's never ever had an unsuccessful film. Yeah. Right down to like True Lies, like comedy, fun, action. Like, he's never ever not had a hit.
He also raises the bar each film too. Like,
I mean, I think you could say it about Tarantino, but that's still a different category. Yeah. Because I don't know what people think about Foxy Brown. Is that what it was called?
Jackie Brown?
Jackie Brown, yeah.
Yeah, I never really watched the full thing. I got partly into it. It wasn't bad.
That's my point. Yeah. Like, Jackie Brown is sort of like...
Or when he did Death Proof, that was a that
doesn't count, right? Because now you get the... But, like I said, Tarantino, big Hollywood mainstream. It's crazy to think that there's never been a failure on his watch. Especially when everyone thought Titanic was going to fail. Like, that was like, oh, here we go. Like this, you know, like the sinking ship, he's on a sinking. Like, it was like, so that to me still blows my mind that James Cameron has literally batted 1,000 as a director, filmmaker, producer, box office hit. I'd have to see if anyone I think has really ever done that.
I got one more point to make that it kind of ties into what we're talking about earlier with being able to kind of direct within kind of a VR setting. Is Fincher talked about, well, film school wasn't for me. I just wanted to work at, I forget which visual effects studio he worked at. ILM. And he's just like, I just observed and watched the directors, and after a while, over years of doing it, I kind of learned like the over the shoulder and this type of scene. What's crazy to me is the way I learned filmmaking is I had like a phone that I could film on when I was a kid.
That is crazy.
And you could edit that way, and I was like, I learned over the shoulder.
Not even a camcorder, you learned on a phone.
Yeah, which that's the technology now. So imagine in the future with the new technology of VR and 360 cameras, they're going to be able to learn how to direct spinning shots or crane shots down. Like they're going to be able to, little kids will be able to be doing
this.
But
you know what's more intriguing to me? Yes, but here's what's more intriguing. I'll end with this. But this generation is coming up with a front-facing understanding of marketing and promotion, first and foremost.
Yeah.
That all they know is to post, to write copy.
Yep.
What to do on TikTok, what to do on Snapchat, what to do. So at the same time as they're developing, they are developing a higher level of marketing communication first, while they're developing this little skill of filmmaking. They know the actual mechanism and vernacular of communicating something. How that's going to affect everything, and how to sell and everything.
Yes. Look at the Paul brothers. They are just geniuses when it comes to social media marketing and selling something, and it's just YouTubers in general.
And there was a long burn for what they were doing before, people would say, for the Paul brothers now.
Yeah.
But once they decided to say, we're going to flip the switch, we know how to use all these things.
Yeah.
What have the Paul brothers done in the last year or the last 6 months is insane.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Once they saw that, in a lot of ways, that's what I think we're doing here.
Yeah.
Like, we're just waiting to flip the switch on something and say, we know all these things. What's going to be the billion-dollar company that we decide to work with, potentially even exclusively, and say, we know every trick. We know what's happening. We know how to communicate. When we decide, or if we get the opportunity to flip that switch, whether it be a sweat equity deal for something that we all want to go in on, or a big brand shows up and says, to me, what the Paul brothers has done, by the way, they put the time in.
Yeah. Oh,
no one sees that.
Yeah, no, they did.
They think it's an overnight, right.
Yeah.
What I think we can do is what the Paul brothers have done is when we decide to flip that switch and incorporate all this stuff for an entity, it's over. To a Tesla, to a Procter and Gamble, to a, Ford. There's still a game to be played that's an all-in strategy play that I don't think anyone's done yet, and I think the Paul brothers is a great example of what I think we could possibly do.
Well, what's crazy is Kevin, he was like, it was on one of his TikToks, he goes, 15 years ago I would have told you what to go to college for or what job to get. I told you engineering or something like that. He even said, now I'm recommending people go into content creation.
He says he can't find enough. Kevin O'Leary says we can't find enough people who can shoot, edit, and write copy. We are investing millions of dollars to find those people to bring to every single one of my companies in my portfolio. So that is the number one asset is, can you film? Can you edit? Can you complete something, write the copy around it, and launch it? He says we are literally spending millions upon millions to find those people to come to our company, and there's not enough people doing it.
It's crazy to think, huh?
That's how fast
the world's changing.
That's it.